If you don't do the best you can with what you have, life won't give you more. Most people know what they should do, but they keep putting it off. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until someone tells them it's time. And while they wait, life moves on. The truth is, nobody's going to live your life for you. If you want real change, you have to start showing up fully. No halfway, no more excuses. Just do the best you can with what you've got right now. This video is for the ones who are tired of overthinking and just want to move forward. We're going to talk about why doing your best consistently will build your confidence, your results, and your future. If you've been stuck, distracted, or doubting yourself, this will shift your mindset fast. Keep watching, because when you do the best you can, everything around you starts to change. Quietly, powerfully, for real, number one. Own your effort instead of chasing constant approval. That's where real life begins. That's where strength grows, not in applause, not in attention, but in that quiet moment where you decide to give your best. Because you know it matters, even if no one else ever says a word. Too many people spend their lives trying to impress people who don't even care. They want to be liked. They want to be accepted. They want someone to tell them they're good enough. But here's the truth. The people who are always waiting for praise rarely get better. Because their focus is off. Their energy is going in the wrong direction. Instead of building discipline, they build dependency. Instead of growing stronger, they grow more anxious. They give just enough effort to keep people clapping, but not enough to build a life that actually means something. You don't need everyone to like you. You don't need the world to cheer. What you need is to know deep down that you gave everything you had, that you didn't hold back, that you didn't cut corners, that you stayed honest with yourself even when no one else was watching. That is what builds confidence. That is what makes you powerful. Because once you start depending on other people to tell you you're doing well, you hand them control of your emotions. You give them the power to define your worth. And I don't care who it is, your boss, your friends, your family, nobody should have that kind of power over how you see yourself. When you wake up in the morning, the first question should never be, who's going to notice me today? It should be, what can I do today that makes me proud when I go to sleep? That one shift will change how you work, how you show up, how you grow. Because instead of feeding your need for validation, you'll feed your own inner standard. And that inner standard, that becomes your foundation. No one can take it from you. No one can shake it. No one can manipulate it. You'll start noticing something else too. When you stop chasing approval, your effort gets cleaner. You stop performing. You stop faking. You stop pretending to care about things just to fit in. And now finally, you're free to do the real work. You're free to build habits that last. You're free to show up for yourself with honesty and strength. And that's when results start showing up. Not because you chase them, but because you earned them. There's a dangerous trap people fall into, and it's this. They only try hard when someone is watching. That's not growth. That's not integrity. That's insecurity disguised as work ethic. If you only give your best when people are around, then you're living your life like a puppet. You'll rise and fall with every comment, every like, every compliment or criticism. And eventually, that noise will wear you down. You'll get tired, you'll burn out, and you'll wonder why you feel empty. Even when people still tell you you're doing great. You see, it's not about hearing good job. It's about knowing you gave a good effort. That knowing, that quiet confidence you build from doing the hard thing without anyone watching, that becomes your fuel. That becomes your fire. And it doesn't run out because it's coming from you, not from them. There will be days when nobody says thank you. Nobody tells you you're doing the right thing. Nobody sees how hard you're trying. And in those moments, you have two choices. You can quit and say, nobody cares, so why should I? Or you can rise and say, I care, and that's enough. That decision, that's where your life turns. That's where you become someone people can't ignore. Not because you demand their attention, but because you've outgrown their approval. This also changes how you treat others. When you stop chasing praise, you stop handing it out like a reward for obedience. You start appreciating people for their character, not for how much they flatter you. You build stronger relationships, you have better conversations, because now you're not playing a role, you're not pretending, you're not waiting to be liked, you're living to be real. It's not easy. It's never easy, especially if you've been living for likes and compliments your whole life. At first, it feels strange to do good work and hear silence. It feels strange to stay consistent when nobody is noticing. But that's where the transformation happens. When you can stay focused with no reward, no spotlight, no crowd, that's when you start building something permanent inside you. Something called self-respect. Most people want confidence. They want to feel strong. But they think confidence comes from other people telling them they're good enough. It doesn't. Confidence comes from keeping your own promises, from knowing you showed up fully, even when it was hard, from doing your best, even when it would be easier to slack off. That's real power. And once you have it, you don't beg for recognition. You don't beg for acceptance. You don't feel the need to prove anything to anyone. You just keep working, quietly, consistently, like someone who has already decided they're worth the effort. So ask yourself, when was the last time you gave your full effort, not to impress, but to improve? When was the last time you showed up just because it was the right thing to do, not because someone was going to pat you on the back? If that's not happening daily, then you've got work to do. And it starts today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Do the best you can, not to earn someone else's approval, but to build your own strength. That shift, that mindset, that new reason to try harder, it changes everything. You stop performing, you start growing. You stop pretending, you start becoming. And every day, you'll walk into situations knowing this simple truth. I may not be the smartest, the fastest, the most liked, or the most praised, but I will be the one who gives their best, even when no one says a word. And in the long run, that person wins, always. Because consistency beats applause, integrity beats recognition, and self-respect beats popularity. This is how you build a life you're proud of. One effort at a time, one honest choice at a time, one day at a time. So stop looking around, stop checking for approval, stop waiting to be noticed, and just do the best you can over and over again until it becomes who you are. Number 2, clean up your mess before blaming anyone else. That's one of the most important things you'll ever learn if you want to grow, not just succeed, but grow. Because growth isn't about how things look on the outside. It's about how honest you're willing to be with yourself. And the truth is, your life reflects your choices, your habits, your standards. And if something isn't right, if something keeps falling apart, the first place to look is the mirror. Not the world, not your friends, not your past, not your boss, not the system, you. Most people don't want to hear that. It's uncomfortable. It forces you to take responsibility, and responsibility is heavy. But it's also where your freedom begins. Because as long as you keep pointing fingers at your circumstances, your upbringing, your partner, your environment, you stay stuck. You give up control. You stay in the same cycle of frustration, disappointment, and confusion. Nothing changes because you keep waiting for other people to fix what's broken. Blame feels good for a moment. It protects your ego. It tells you, this isn't your fault. It gives you an excuse to stay right where you are. But excuses never lead to progress. They only lead to more of the same, more stress, more problems, more resentment. And eventually, you start losing faith, not just in the world, but in yourself. Because deep down, you know when you're avoiding the truth. You know when you're hiding. And that guilt builds up. It turns into shame. It turns into bitterness. And suddenly, you're not just blaming others. You're turning against yourself. That's why cleaning up your own mess matters so much. It's not about being perfect. It's about being honest. If you made a mistake, admit it. If you fell short, own it. If you hurt someone, apologize. If you've been lazy, distracted, or inconsistent, stop covering it up and face it head on. The people who grow are the ones who say, yes, I did that. Yes, I avoided that. Yes, I should have done better. And then they get to work quietly, consistently, not to prove anything, but because they're finally done running from themselves. Cleaning up your mess doesn't always mean fixing every mistake right away. Sometimes it means sitting down and looking at the damage you caused. It means asking hard questions like, what did I avoid? Who did I hurt? What habit have I been ignoring? What conversation have I been too afraid to have? That kind of reflection isn't fun. It's not glamorous, but it's necessary. Because growth isn't found in comfort. It's found in discomfort. It's found in those honest, raw moments where you choose truth over ego. People will often say, I wouldn't be like this if they hadn't done that, or I'm only reacting this way because of how they treated me. But think about it. How long will you keep letting someone else's behavior control your mindset, your peace, your direction? When do you finally decide that your life is too valuable to keep handing it over to other people's actions? You have to realize that your mess is yours to deal with. It might not all be your fault, but it's still your responsibility. No one's coming to rescue you from the mess you made. No one's going to swoop in and fix your bad habits. No one's going to clean up your unfinished business. That's your job, and if you don't do it, it stays. It follows you. It shows up in your relationships, your work, your confidence, your peace of mind. You can't move forward with a heavy load. You can't expect new results if you're dragging around old messes. The conversations you've been avoiding, the promises you broke, the unfinished goals, the lies you've told yourself, they weigh you down. And every time you blame someone else, instead of addressing them, you add more weight. That's why you feel stuck. That's why progress feels so hard. Not because you can't change, but because you're trying to change while refusing to take responsibility for what's already in front of you. And here's the hardest part. Most of your problems won't go away on their own. Time doesn't fix everything. Time just reveals what you're avoiding. That clutter in your life, emotional, physical, relational, it starts piling up, and eventually it forces you to deal with it. But by then, it's worse, it's bigger, it's heavier. That's why now is the time to clean it up. Not next week, not after someone apologizes, now. Because the longer you wait, the deeper the mess becomes, and the harder it gets to untangle. You don't have to fix everything today, but you do need to start. Look at your life honestly. Ask yourself where the mess is, not where people hurt you, but where you let things slide, where you made choices that didn't line up with who you want to become, where you broke your own word, where you ignored what needed your attention. That kind of awareness doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong. It means you're finally ready to grow. You'll notice something powerful happens when you stop blaming and start owning. You begin to feel in control again. You realize that you don't need to wait for anyone else to change in order for you to get better. You take your power back, and that power gives you peace, because now your life is in your hands, not theirs. And when life is in your hands, you can shape it, you can rebuild it, you can improve it. That's when progress becomes possible, real progress. Not just the kind that looks good online, but the kind that lasts. You'll also build trust with yourself. Every time you face your own mess, every time you admit a mistake and do better, you build self-respect. You start believing in your own word again. That belief shows up in how you speak, how you work, how you treat others. You don't need to fake anything anymore. You're not hiding. You're not pretending to be perfect. You're just real. And people feel that. They see it. That kind of integrity draws the right people into your life, the ones who value truth, growth, and personal responsibility. And let's be clear, cleaning up your mess isn't something you do once. It's a habit, a way of life. Every day, life throws things your way, distractions, temptations, mistakes. You will mess up again. You will fall short. But if your instinct becomes to fix instead of blame, to take action instead of defend, to face truth instead of escape it, you will grow faster than most people around you. You will rise while others stay stuck in their excuses. But this isn't about shame. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about maturity. It's about realizing that blame is easy, but ownership is powerful. It's about deciding that your peace of mind is worth the hard work of personal responsibility. It's about choosing growth over comfort. So today, make a choice. Look around your life. What needs attention? What needs closure? What needs a real conversation? Where have you been silent when you needed to speak? Where have you been hiding when you needed to take action? Make a list. Start small, but start. You don't need to post about it. You don't need to announce it. Just do the work quietly, honestly, day after day. And here's the beautiful thing. When you start cleaning up your life, you start liking who you're becoming. You feel lighter. You feel clear. You feel proud, not because you're perfect, but because you're finally doing the work that matters. That pride, that's what gives you strength, not fake praise, not surface compliments, but that deep, steady knowing, I handled what was mine to handle. So stop waiting for others to admit they were wrong. Stop expecting someone else to clean up what's yours. You've got the strength to face it. You've got the courage to own it. And once you do, your life will open up in ways you never imagined. Clean up your mess before blaming anyone else. That's where real growth begins. That's how self-respect is built. That's how powerful people are made. Number 3, face hard truths without trying to run from them. Facing hard truths is one of the most important things you'll ever learn in life. And not just hearing them, but facing them head on without running, without avoiding, and without making excuses. Because your life will never change if you keep dodging the very things that need your attention the most. Real progress begins when you stop protecting your feelings and start protecting your future. That means accepting some things you don't want to hear. It means telling yourself what's real, not what's comfortable. A lot of people say they want change, but they're not willing to deal with what change actually demands. Change doesn't come with comfort. It comes with a mirror. And sometimes what that mirror shows you hurts. Maybe it shows you you've been lazy. Maybe it shows you you've wasted time. Maybe it reveals habits that are holding you back or attitudes that are pushing people away. In that moment, that raw, honest moment, is where your life either starts to shift or stays the same. Because you either face it or you run from it. Running might feel easier. It might feel safer. You distract yourself with entertainment. You convince yourself it's not the right time. You say you'll deal with it later. But the truth you avoid doesn't disappear. It waits and it grows. And eventually it demands your attention in ways you can't ignore. It shows up in your health, your mindset, your relationships, your opportunities. You pay the price for every truth you avoid. You pay in time. You pay in regret. You pay in lost potential. There's a reason most people never break through. It's not because they're not smart. It's not because they lack talent. It's because they protect their ego more than their future. They don't want to feel bad, so they stay blind. They don't want to feel guilt, so they create stories. They don't want to be wrong, so they shut out the truth. But what they don't understand is that growth only happens when you're willing to admit what's broken. The people who grow the fastest, the strongest, the deepest, they are the ones who say, "Tell me the truth, even if it hurts. Show me where I'm falling short. Point out what I need to fix." They don't flinch from reality. They welcome it because they know that facing a hard truth once is better than suffering from a hidden one for years. It's not about tearing yourself down. It's not about living in guilt. It's about getting real. And real doesn't mean perfect. It means grounded. It means clear. It means honest. You can't build anything solid if the foundation is built on lies you tell yourself. And you know when you're doing it. You know when you're pretending something's fine when it's not. You know when you're acting like you don't care just to avoid disappointment. You know when you're putting on a face for the world while struggling in silence. That kind of life gets heavy, and eventually it breaks you down. Not all at once, but slowly. You start doubting yourself. You start questioning your value. You start losing passion. Because the longer you avoid what's real, the more disconnected you become from who you actually are. That's why you feel stuck. That's why you feel tired. That's why nothing feels satisfying anymore. Because deep down, you know something's off, but you're too afraid to face it. But there's a freedom that comes when you stop running. When you sit down with yourself and say, okay, what's not working? What needs to change? What have I been lying about to feel better? That conversation might break you open, but it also sets you free. Because now, you're no longer controlled by fear. You're no longer pretending. You're finally dealing with life as it is, not as you wish it was. And in that place, you start to take back your power. You stop giving energy to things that don't matter. You stop wasting time avoiding things that need your effort. You stop chasing distractions, and you begin building something that actually lasts. Because anything built on truth has strength. It has roots. It can stand the pressure. You'll start noticing things around you shift too. People will respect you more, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. You'll trust yourself more, not because you always win, but because you face what's real without excuses. And that trust becomes your foundation. You're no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You're not easily shaken by problems. You've built a habit of looking life in the eye and saying, I can handle this. Facing hard truths isn't about constantly pointing out your flaws. It's about learning. You can't improve what you won't admit. You can't grow past what you keep denying. That's why people who are serious about life become students of truth. They don't wait for pain to teach them. They seek it out. They look for it early. They ask questions like, what am I ignoring? What feedback am I rejecting? What situation am I avoiding? Because I don't want to deal with the discomfort. They understand that the pain of truth is sharp, but short. It stings for a moment, but then it clears the way. The pain of avoidance, on the other hand, is quiet and constant. It lingers. It wears you down. It steals your energy day after day. That's why avoidance is so dangerous. It doesn't scream, it whispers. And before you know it, years have gone by, and you're still stuck in the same spot. So choose truth, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when it means facing parts of yourself you're not proud of. Because every time you do, you get stronger. You become more self-aware. You get clarity. You start solving problems instead of dragging them around. And you stop wasting time living someone else's version of your life. Don't wait until things fall apart to get real with yourself. Don't wait for a breakdown. Don't wait for a crisis. Face the hard truths now while you still have time to do something about them. While you still have energy to change. While you still have opportunities that haven't slipped through your fingers yet. You are capable of so much more than you've shown. But you'll never tap into that if you keep running from what's real. Look at your habits. Look at your excuse. Look at the things you keep saying you'll fix later. Look at the version of yourself you've settled for. Ask yourself, honestly, are you becoming the person you want to be? Or are you protecting the person you've been? This isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about being clear with yourself. The truth doesn't punish you. It frees you. It brings light to the places you've kept dark. It gives you a chance to do better. Not out of shame, but out of responsibility. Because you're not a victim. You're not stuck. You're not helpless. You're just one decision away from shifting your entire life. And that decision starts with honesty. So stop running. Stand still. breathe, and face the truth. It's the first step toward real power, toward lasting change, toward peace. Because once you know what's real, you can build what's possible. And that's where life truly begins. Number 4, get serious about life before it forces you to. That's not just advice, it's a warning. Because life doesn't wait forever. It won't always be patient while you figure things out. Sooner or later, it steps in. And when it does, it doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't care if you're ready. It doesn't check your mood or your timing. Life has a way of throwing you into situations that demand responsibility, whether you've prepared or not. And if you've been playing around with your time, your energy, and your priorities, you'll feel it hard. You can't treat life like a game and expect serious rewards. You can't live with low standards and expect high-level results. There's a cost to avoiding responsibility. There's a price to pay for wasting your best years doing things that don't matter, avoiding what does, and hoping somehow everything will just work itself out. It doesn't. What you ignore now turns into pressure later. What you delay now becomes pain down the road. Too many people wait for something bad to happen before they wake up. They wait until they lose the job. They wait until the bills pile up. They wait until the relationship breaks. They wait until their body gives out. That's when they finally look around and say, I should have taken things more seriously. But by then they're in survival mode. By then the damage is done. And now they're trying to fix something they could have prevented if they just made better decisions early. You don't want to live like that. You don't want to be the one always reacting to life. You want to be the one shaping it. You want to walk into the day with clarity, with purpose, with a decision already made. Today, I don't play small. Today, I don't waste time. Today, I don't make excuses. That kind of mindset doesn't show up by accident. You train it. You build it. And you start by making a clear choice to take your life seriously. Now, not later. People say someday like they have unlimited chances. They talk about what they're going to do next year or after things calm down. But life doesn't hand out schedules. It hands out consequences. You don't get to choose the timing of every challenge, but you do get to decide if you'll be ready for them. You do get to decide if you're going to rise up with strength or break down in regret. There's something powerful about getting serious before you have to. When you don't wait for the wake-up call. When you don't wait for something to fall apart. When you don't wait for life to corner you. You take ownership while you still have options. You make sacrifices now. Not because you're in pain, but because you're thinking ahead. That's how wise people live. They see where things are headed and adjust. They don't gamble with their health, their money, their relationships, or their dreams. Being serious doesn't mean being rigid. It doesn't mean you never laugh or relax. It means you value your time. It means you know what matters. It means you live with direction, not distraction. Because every day you treat lightly is a day you can't get back. Every year you waste pretending life isn't urgent is a year you could have used to build something strong, something that lasts. There will come a day when life demands more from you. It'll ask you to show up stronger than before. It'll push you to face hard decisions. It'll test your patience, your discipline, your resilience. And in that moment, you'll either be ready because you've trained for it, or you'll panic because you've been drifting. And panic never produces greatness. Panic only reveals unpreparedness. That's why seriousness matters. It's your insurance against panic. It's how you prepare your mind and your habits to rise when life gets heavy. The truth is, most people won't take life seriously until it hurts them. They won't get focused until they lose something they care about. They won't start managing their time until they've wasted most of it. They won't start working on their character until it costs them their peace. And by then, they're not making bold decisions. They're cleaning up consequences. They're scrambling. They're trying to survive. And that's a hard place to build from. But you don't have to wait for that. You can choose differently. You can stop playing it casual. You can stop pretending things will just improve on their own. You can stop hoping that the future will save you from your present, because it won't. Only you can do that. And you do it by getting clear on what matters and aligning your actions with that clarity. That's what it means to get serious. It's not about pressure. It's about purpose. You need to start protecting your time like it's valuable. Because it is. You need to stop wasting energy on things that aren't getting you anywhere. You need to start asking better questions. Where is your life going? What do you keep putting off? What habits are costing you more than you admit? What truths have you been ignoring? What potential are you not using? People want results, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with those results. They want respect, but they don't want to change. They want success, but they still want to act like life is a joke. That contradiction will keep you stuck forever, because life responds to your level of seriousness. If you show up distracted, you'll attract distraction. If you show up with excuses, you'll keep finding reasons to stay the same. But if you show up ready, focused, and clear, you open the door to things most people will never experience. Getting serious doesn't mean having everything figured out. It means being willing to figure it out instead of hiding behind excuses. It means taking small steps every single day that reflect who you want to become. It means getting tired of your own patterns and doing something about them. It means choosing discomfort today so you can have peace tomorrow. It means saying no to shortcuts and yes to growth. You will never regret taking your life seriously. You will never regret showing up with discipline. You will never look back and say, I wish I spent more time playing around with my future. But you will regret wasting time. You will regret ignoring warning signs. You will regret letting fear or comfort stop you from becoming who you were meant to be. This is your window, right now. Not when everything feels perfect. Not when someone pushes you. Not when the pain becomes unbearable. Now, before the storm comes. Before the pressure hits. Before life forces your hand. Make the decision before it's made for you. Show up for your life while you still have the chance to do it with strength, with clarity, and with power. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to have every answer. You just need to decide that you're done wasting time, done playing small, done pretending this isn't serious, because it is. This is your one shot, one life, one chance. Don't wait for it to fall apart to realize it mattered all along. Get serious before you have no other choice. That's how you take control. That's how you build peace. That's how you lead yourself into a better future, before life drags you into a worse one. Number 5. Stop lying to yourself and fix what's broken. That's where the real shift begins. Until that moment happens, everything stays surface level. You can act motivated. You can say all the right things. You can keep chasing new ideas, routines, people, and plans. But if you keep lying to yourself about what's really going on, you'll never get anywhere that lasts. You can't move forward if you're dragging denial with you. You can't heal, grow, or succeed if you keep covering up what's clearly falling apart. People lie to themselves more than they lie to anyone else. They pretend they're okay when they're not. They say they're trying when they're avoiding. They claim they're fine when deep down they're frustrated, stuck, and disappointed. Why? Because truth demands responsibility, and responsibility demands change. That's where most people hesitate. It's easier to act busy than to admit you've been distracted. It's easier to defend your comfort than to face your laziness. But the longer you lie to yourself, the deeper you stay in the same pain. If something in your life isn't working, there's a reason. And most of the time, it isn't hidden. It's right in front of you. You already know what needs to change. You already know the conversations you're avoiding, the habits you're ignoring, the standards you keep lowering. You know, but you've convinced yourself it's not that bad, that you've still got time, that maybe it'll fix itself. It won't. What you refuse to deal with keeps dealing with you. Quietly, daily, in the background of your thoughts, in the weight you carry, in the stress that won't leave, in the tension you feel when you look in the mirror and don't like what you see. Lying to yourself is a form of self-abandonment. It's choosing temporary comfort over long-term peace. It's pretending things are fine to avoid the discomfort of doing something about it. But the cost is massive. You lose trust in yourself. You start doubting your instincts. You become afraid of silence because you know what it will force you to hear. So you stay busy, distracted, entertained, but deep down you know something's broken, and you've been pretending it's not. There is no strength in pretending. Real strength is in facing what's real, saying to yourself, I've let things slide, I've ignored what matters, I've been dishonest about my effort, my attitude, my choice. That kind of honesty is hard, but it's the only way out of the cycle you're stuck in. You don't need another tip or trick. You need truth. You need clarity. You need to face what you've been running from. Fixing what's broken doesn't happen overnight, but it starts the moment you stop lying. The moment you stop saying, it's fine when it's not. The moment you stop blaming others for the problems you've allowed. That shift from denial to ownership changes everything. Now you're not just reacting, you're responding. You're stepping into your power, not because everything is perfect, but because you're finally willing to take it seriously. Sometimes what's broken isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the small habits that steal your time. It's the emotional walls you've built that stop you from connecting. It's the anger you've buried that leaks into how you speak. It's the goals you keep setting, but never finishing. It's not always dramatic, but it's always draining, and it builds up, one ignored problem at a time, until it affects how you think, how you work, how you love, how you live. And still, people pretend. They say, I'm just tired, when really they're overwhelmed by everything they haven't dealt with. They say, I just need a break, when really they've been running from responsibility. They say, I'm just in a slump, when really they've been out of alignment for months, or even years. You can't keep talking yourself into staying the same. You can't keep lowering your expectations to match your current state. If something is off, call it what it is. If something is broken, stop decorating it. Stop defending it. Start fixing it. Fixing what's broken means different things for different people. For some, it means repairing a relationship. For others, it means facing financial habits that are destroying their future. For some, it's physical health. For others, it's emotional baggage that's never been addressed. Whatever it is for you, start there. Don't wait for a breakdown. Don't wait for someone else to push you. Take the lead. Take responsibility for your own healing, your own growth, your own repair. This is where real confidence comes from, not from pretending you have it all together, but from knowing that even if things are broken, you're working on it. You're not sitting in denial. You're not waiting for perfect timing. You're doing the work. That kind of mindset is, but it's what separates people who make real progress from those who keep restarting the same goals every year. You don't have to tell the world your truth. You don't have to explain your process to anyone, but you do owe it to yourself to be honest behind closed, to admit where you've dropped the ball, to acknowledge the areas you've been avoiding, to say enough is enough. I can't keep pretending this isn't a problem. That's how maturity grows. That's how integrity builds. That's how peace enters your life again. You will feel resistance. That voice in your head will try to convince you to stay comfortable. It will say you've been through a lot. You deserve a break. It will say you'll deal with this later. But you've already tried that. You already know how that story ends. Nothing changes. The weight stays, and your life never feels fully aligned. So interrupt the pattern. Stop the cycle. Sit down with yourself and look at your life. Not the filtered version, but the raw one. What's working? What's not? Where are you being dishonest? Where are you letting yourself down? Not to feel bad, but to get better. Because you can't fix what you won't admit. And you can't build a strong future on a foundation of denial. Start with one thing. One area that you know needs your attention. Give it your full focus, your full honesty, your full effort. Watch what happens. Watch how different it feels to work on something real instead of pretending everything is okay. Watch how your confidence slowly rebuilds. Watch how your energy returns, not because the problem is gone, but because you're finally facing it. That's the path. That's the work. That's how real change is made. Stop lying to yourself and fix what's broken. Not just because it's the right thing to do, but because your peace depends on it. Your future depends on it. And your strength is built through that process. Not by avoiding the cracks, but by choosing to repair them, piece by piece, with clarity, honesty, and action. Number 6, respect your time like it actually means something. Because it does, more than you realize. Time is not just hours on a clock or days on a calendar. Time is your life measured in moments. And once it's gone, you don't get it back. You can't pause it, rewind it, or replace it. What you do with your time reveals what you truly value. And if you're wasting it, you're wasting everything. Most people act like they have forever. They scroll endlessly. They talk about what they'll do someday. They kill time like it's worthless. But the truth is, people don't kill time. Time kills people. quietly and without warning. And if you don't take it seriously, it slips away before you even notice. You look up and realize weeks, months, years have gone by, and you're still saying, "I'll start soon." If your time had a price tag, you'd guard it. If every wasted minute cost you real money, you'd think twice before handing it over. But because you can't see time leave your hands, you treat it like it's free. It's not. Every wasted hour is a decision not to grow. Every distraction is an agreement to stay behind. Every lazy choice is a missed opportunity to move forward. That's how time works. It doesn't wait for you to get serious. Ask yourself honestly, how many hours have you lost to things that don't matter? How many days have you spent doing things you didn't even care about? How many plans have you pushed to later because you were tired, distracted, or just not in the mood? Now add those up. What could you have done with that time? Who could you have become? That's not meant to make you feel guilty. It's meant to wake you up. Because until you respect your time, you won't respect your life. People say they don't have time, but the truth is, they don't use their time with intention. They don't protect it. They give it away to things that drain them. They waste it on distractions that bring nothing but regret. They don't plan. They don't prioritize. They live by reaction, not by design. And then they wonder why they feel stuck, why they never have enough hours in the day, why they're always behind. It's not a scheduling issue. It's a mindset issue. When you start seeing your time as valuable, you stop handing it over to things that steal it. You stop saying yes to every request. You stop spending hours arguing, scrolling, overthinking. You learn to walk away from people who waste your time with drama and excuses. You don't entertain nonsense when you understand how short life really is. Time is also deeply connected to self-respect. When you respect yourself, you don't allow your time to be abused. You don't live at the mercy of other people's urgency. You set boundaries. You guard your morning. You protect your focus. Because you know your goals deserve your full attention, not just your leftover energy after a day of nonsense. Start paying attention to how you spend your first hour of the day. That sets the tone. If you wake up and reach for distractions, your brain follows that rhythm. You start the day reactive. You feel behind before the day has even started. But if you wake up with clarity, if you plan your time and act with purpose, everything shifts. You move different. You think different. You start building momentum instead of chasing it. And don't confuse being busy with being effective. A full schedule means nothing if it's not aligned with what matters. A lot of people stay busy to avoid what they should really be doing. They fill their time so they don't have to face their lack of direction. But busyness without intention is just another way to waste your life. Your time should reflect your priorities, not your distractions, not your fears, not your avoidance. Be honest. Are you using time or just spending it? There's a difference. Spending time means it's gone, and all you got was a feeling. Using time means it moved you forward. It produced growth. It created progress. You were intentional. You chose it. That's the difference between people who achieve and people who win. One group understands that time is the only real resource. The other treats it like an unlimited supply. You want a better life? Start by fixing how you use your time. Not later, not next month. Now. Track it, audit it, question it. Look at your habits with full honesty. Where are you bleeding time? Where are you hiding behind comfort? Where are you delaying things that matter because they require effort? That kind of self-awareness is powerful. It gives you back control. It shows you that every minute is a vote for the kind of life you're building. Don't wait for a crisis to value your time. Don't wait until you've lost opportunities to start caring. Don't wait for regret to teach you what you should have respected all along. You can shift right now. You can reset your standards today. You can decide that your time will only be used for things that matter, things that build your mind, strengthen your future, and align with your values. And this doesn't mean you work every second. It means you choose what matters. It means your rest is planned, your work is focused, and your time has purpose. Even your breaks are meaningful. Even your conversations are intentional, because you've decided that your life deserves better than mindless living. When you start respecting your time, people notice. Your energy changes. You stop wasting words. You stop getting pulled into meaningless debates. You stop entertaining people who have no direction. You move with clarity. You make decisions faster. You say no without guilt. Because your time is not just a clock. It's your one shot at becoming who you were meant to be. You've already lost time. You can't get back. That's okay. What matters is what you do now, not next year. Now, your life doesn't change in a decade. It changes in a day, in a moment. The moment you decide that from here on out, your time is sacred, that it means something, that you won't waste it anymore, that you won't give it away for free, that's when your life starts to shift. Time is your currency. Spend it where it counts. Use it to become better. Use it to build. Use it to rest when needed, but never to run away from your responsibility. Use it to make hard decisions. Use it to develop discipline. Use it to grow, to learn, to improve. Because when it's gone, and there are no do-overs. Respect your time like it actually means something. Because one day you'll realize it was the most valuable thing you had. Number 7. Put effort into your goals, not your excuses. That's the choice that separates people who grow from people who stay stuck. That one decision, to give your energy to solutions instead of reasons, can change the direction of your entire life. Excuses are comfortable. They protect your pride. They explain your lack of action, but they never get you anywhere. Excuses never build anything. They only delay the life you say you want. Goals demand effort. They require sacrifice. They force you to stretch beyond your current habits, and that's why so many people quit before they even begin. Because it's easier to justify an action than to show up and do what's uncomfortable. Look at how much energy you've already spent creating reasons why it hasn't worked yet. Think about how many hours you've given to thoughts like, I don't have enough time. I'm not ready. It's not the right moment. I've tried before and failed. Those thoughts aren't harmless. They take effort too. They take mental energy. They shape your minds. They drain your focus. So the truth is, you've already been putting in work. You've just been putting it into the wrong thing, into defending your fears instead of chasing your goals, into building walls instead of building progress. People convince themselves their excuses are fact, but if you look closely, most of them fall apart under pressure. I'm too busy often means I'm not prioritizing. I don't know where to start. Usually means I haven't committed to learning. I'm afraid to fail really means I care too much about what others think. When you strip away the surface, you realize you've been holding yourself back with stories you created to avoid the pressure of doing the work. And the longer you tell those stories, the more real they feel, until you forget they were never facts to begin with. Effort is the price you pay for progress. No one gets to bypass that. No shortcut, no secret, no motivation hack will take the place of daily, consistent effort. You want to build something great? You'll have to show up tired. You'll have to work when the hype wears off. You'll have to make decisions that other people won't understand. And most importantly, you'll have to stop feeding your excuses. You can't make progress while you keep defending the very things that are holding you back. Think about this. Every time you feed an excuse, you weaken your belief in your own potential. You send a message to yourself. I can't handle this. But every time you push forward despite the reason not to, you build something much more important than momentum. You build self-respect. That's what creates real drive. Not hype, not pressure, not praise. Just a clear understanding that you are in control of your own effort, and that no excuse is stronger than your ability to show up and do something today. Ask yourself honestly, what goal have you been avoiding? What habit have you been saying you'll start next week? What dream have you quietly talked yourself out of? Now ask a better question. What would happen if you gave that same energy, that same focus, that same time to actually working on it instead of thinking about why you can't? Most people never find out because they stay stuck in the loop of almost. They almost started. They almost changed. They almost made the move. But then the excuse felt more comfortable than the effort, and that choice became a habit. Excuses are easier to start than they are to stop. Once you build a pattern of defending your comfort, you start finding new ways to explain your delay. It becomes automatic. But here's the truth you can't ignore. Every excuse adds time to your struggle. Every excuse makes your goal further away. Every excuse tells your mind that quitting is okay. That's why breaking the habit matters. Not just for your goal, but for your identity. Because who you become while chasing the goal matters more than the goal itself. You've got potential you haven't even touched yet. Not because it's hidden, but because you haven't worked hard enough to uncover it. It's not a question of ability. It's a question of effort. Are you willing to give your full energy to what matters? Are you willing to stop justifying and start doing? Are you ready to live like your goal actually means something? Most people want success without the struggle. They want growth without discomfort. But that's not how real progress works. You don't get better by talking about it. You don't get stronger by reading quotes. You get better by doing the hard thing over and over again, even when it feels boring. You get stronger by choosing effort instead of escaping into another excuse. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about being honest enough to say, yes, this is hard, but I'll still show up. Yes, I'm tired, but I'll still make progress. Yes, I failed before, but that doesn't mean I stop now. That kind of mindset takes work, but it's also the only one that works. Because when your effort becomes non-negotiable, your excuses lose their power. They don't disappear. You just stop listening. You know what needs to be done. You know the next step. It's not a mystery. You've just been avoiding it. Not because you're lazy, but because you've been distracted. And distraction feels productive. It feels like you're moving when really you're standing still. Stop waiting for the perfect plan. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. That waiting becomes your excuse. Action creates answers. Effort creates momentum. Clarity comes after movement, not before. Start small if you have to, but start. Get up earlier. Cut out the noise. Write your goals down. Track your time. Be brutally honest about where it's going. Remove the distractions you keep justifying. Say no more often. Make your effort visible. Make it part of your routine. And every time your brain tries to pull you back into excuses, ask one question. Will this move me forward or waste another day? People don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they let their excuses speak louder than their goal. They convince themselves they need more time, more knowledge, more confidence. But what they really need is more action, more consistency, more willingness to be uncomfortable. That's what separates people who move forward from people who talk about moving forward. You've wasted enough time defending your delay. You've given enough energy to reasons that kept you stuck. Today is a new choice. You can decide right now that your effort matters more than your fear, that your progress matters more than your pride, that your life is worth more than the story that says later. Put effort into your goals, not your excuses. That's the shift. That's the mindset. That's the only way anything changes for real. It's not glamorous. It's not loud, but it works. And the moment you start acting like it works, your life starts to reflect it. Not by accident, not overnight, but day by day, step by step, action by action, until the excuses fade and the results speak for themselves. Number 8, build consistency when nobody is watching you. That's where real progress begins. Not when the cameras are on, not when people are applauding, not when someone's checking on your work. The real growth happens in the quiet hours, in the unseen choices, in the moments where you could cut corners and no one would know, but you still choose to show up with full effort. That's what builds character. That's what creates strength that lasts. Not the big gestures, but the small, disciplined decisions made when no one's looking. People love to perform when eyes are on them. They want the credit. They want to be seen working hard. They want to be known as someone who's doing well. But what they don't realize is that the habits that change your life are built in private, not in the spotlight, not in public praise, but in the lonely moments when you have a choice: keep going or slack off. Stay focused or scroll away the time. Stick to the plan or drift again. And most of the time, no one's there to hold you accountable. That's when your true standards show up. The problem is, most people only give their best when someone is watching. They want accountability from others because they don't have it for themselves. They post their efforts online for motivation. But what happens when the likes stop? What happens when no one comments? Does the effort stop too? That's the test. If your consistency depends on attention, then your commitment isn't real. You're not building discipline. You're chasing validation. The truth is, nobody is coming to watch you every day. Nobody is going to knock on your door and ask if you followed through. And if you're waiting for outside pressure to stay on track, you're going to be disappointed. Because progress doesn't need an audience. It needs ownership. You have to care enough about your own life to show up even when nobody asks you to. Even when nobody claps. Even when nobody says a word. There's something powerful about knowing you did the work and didn't need applause. That quiet pride, that inner confidence, that's what creates real momentum. Because now you're not depending on anyone. You're not controlled by recognition. You're building something solid, something rooted in who you are, not in what people think. And that kind of foundation can't be shaken. Think about the goals you've set in the past. Think about the promises you've made to yourself. How many of those were broken when no one was looking? How many workouts did you skip? How many times did you say, "I'll start tomorrow"? How often did you delay simply because you could get away with it? That's the real issue. Not lack of talent, not lack of knowledge, just lack of quiet, daily consistency. And that consistency isn't built on motivation. It's built on standards. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you'll feel like pushing hard. Other days you won't. But your standards should stay steady. They should guide your actions, even when your mood doesn't. Because you don't rise to the level of your feelings. You rise to the level of your preparation. You rise to what you've trained yourself to do when no one's cheering you on. You train yourself by doing it again and again. Even when you're tired. Even when it's boring. Even when progress feels slow. You stay with it. You repeat it. You get better. You stop starting over. You stop waiting to be in the mood. You stop needing a perfect environment. And that kind of consistency compounds. One honest day after another. One focused hour at a time. You keep stacking. You keep showing up. And then one day you look back and realize how far you've come. Not because of one big moment, but because of hundreds of small ones that nobody saw. The world tells you to chase big wins, to go viral, to do something that gets attention. But the people who succeed in anything long term, they understand that consistency beats hype, that quiet effort beats loud intentions, that showing up when no one's watching is more powerful than performing when everyone's paying attention. Because in the end, it's not about the image, it's about the result. And results come from doing the right thing over and over again. That means showing up early, even if no one notices, finishing the task, even if no one thanks you, practicing your skill even when no one believes in you, holding yourself to a high standard even when no one checks in. That's how real progress is made, quietly, consistently, day by day. That's how confidence is earned, not given. And you'll notice something else happens too. When you build consistency in private, it starts showing up in public, not because you try to impress, but because the results speak louder than words. People will wonder how you got so good, how you became so steady, how you made it look effortless. But what they won't see are the hours behind the scenes, the early mornings, the late night, the times you kept going when it would have been easy to quit. That's what creates separation. That's what builds greatness. So don't underestimate the power of one quiet day, one focused session, one disciplined choice. It adds up. It counts, and it counts even more when you're the only one who knows you did it, because that means you've stopped needing permission to grow. You've stopped waiting for approval. You've taken control of your time, your habits, your direction. You want to become something real. Build it in silence. Build it when it's inconvenient. Build it when it's lonely. Build it when it's not exciting, and keep building. Because every time you do, you prove to yourself that you are someone who can be counted on, even by yourself, especially by yourself. The world doesn't need more talk. It needs more doers. It needs people who don't wait for a crowd to take their life seriously. Be that person. Start today. Do the small things right. Do them on time. Do them even when no one is there to see it. Because that's where integrity is built. That's where transformation begins. And that's where you separate from the version of you that keeps starting over. Build consistency when nobody is watching you, not just for results, but for who you become in the process. Because the person who works in silence becomes the person who shines without trying. And that kind of strength can't be faked. It can only be earned. One quiet, committed step at a time. Number 9. Take yourself seriously or nobody else ever will. That's the truth people avoid. And it's the reason most never get the respect they're chasing. You can't expect others to believe in you when you treat your own life like a joke. You can't expect others to value your time, your goals, or your standards if you keep making excuses, breaking your word, and showing up half committed. It starts with you. the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you follow through. People respond to the signals you send out. And if those signals say, I don't take myself seriously, then they'll believe you. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. If you talk about goals but never work on them, people learn you're not someone to count on. If you overpromise and underdeliver, people stop trusting your words. If you constantly doubt yourself and downplay your potential, people will never see more in you than you see in yourself. You create your own reputation, not through what you say, but through how you live, through the choices you make when it's not convenient, through the discipline you show when it would be easy to coast. Taking yourself seriously doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean acting like you have everything figured out. It means showing up with purpose. It means respecting your own voice. It means keeping the promises you make to yourself, not just once, not just when it's easy, but every time. That builds credibility with yourself, and once you have that, others feel it. You walk into a room different when you've been living with integrity. You speak with a different energy when you've been honoring your word in private. People can sense it. They can tell when someone's the real deal, when someone doesn't need to be told to act right, when someone leads themselves without waiting for someone else to step in. That's the kind of presence that commands respect without ever having to demand it. And that comes from a simple decision. I will take myself seriously. You have a responsibility to your future, to the life you say you want. And that starts by showing up today like it actually matters. Stop laughing off your potential. Stop joking about your failures as if they don't hurt. Stop acting like the things you care about are just hobbies or side projects. If it matters to you, treat it like it does. Take your goals seriously. Take your habits seriously. Take your discipline seriously. Because no one is going to care more about your life than you do. And if they do, that's a problem. When you stop playing around with your potential, everything changes. You stop tolerating nonsense. You stop wasting time with people who don't respect your path. You stop needing validation for every move you make. You become someone people notice, not because you're loud, but because you're focused. Not because you beg for attention, but because you're living with direction. Think about it. Why should someone invest in you if you're not willing to invest in yourself? Why should someone take a chance on you if you don't take real action toward what you say you want? The world doesn't hand out rewards for potential. It rewards action. It rewards consistency. It rewards people who get serious enough to move past distractions and commit to real growth. You don't get second chances at time. Every day you downplay your purpose. Every day you avoid the work. Every day you act like your goals are optional. That's a day you never get back. And the more you treat your goals like they're optional, the more the world will treat them the same way. That's how you get overlooked. That's how you get left behind. Not because you couldn't do it, but because you didn't take it seriously enough when it counted. This is your life. No one's going to build it for you. No one's going to come in and say, now it's time to take yourself seriously. You have to make that choice. You have to draw that line in the sand and say, from now on, I don't play small. I don't lower my standards. I don't act like this doesn't matter, because it does. Your habits matter. Your choices matter. Your words matter. And once you start treating them like they do, your results will finally start to reflect that. It's also about how you carry yourself when things aren't going well. It's easy to be confident when life feels good, but do you still take yourself seriously when no one else believes in you? When progress is slow, when the doubts creep in, that's where the real decision is made. When you decide to keep going, not because someone is watching, not because someone is pushing you, but because you've decided that you matter enough to push yourself. Don't live another year hoping people will see your worth. Show them, not with talk, not with posts, not with explanations, but with consistent action, with showing up early, with staying late, with learning when others waste time, with effort that doesn't need to be announced. You don't need to prove anything when your life becomes the proof. Take yourself seriously when no one else does, when it feels like no one is listening, when it feels like nothing is working. That's when your belief is tested. That's when your vision either breaks or becomes strong. And if you quit then, if you step back then, if you downplay yourself then, you lose. Not because you weren't capable, but because you couldn't hold the line when it mattered most. Your future is watching you now. The version of you 5 years from now is depending on the choices you make today. Don't disappoint that version of you by wasting time pretending this isn't urgent. It is. Your time is valuable. Your energy is valuable. Your potential is real. Treat it like it is. Take yourself seriously in your routines. Take yourself seriously in your relationship. Take yourself seriously in how you talk about your goals. You don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to shout it from the rooftops. But inside, you need to know that you're worth the effort, that your dreams deserve structure, that your future is worth showing up for. Now, not later. You don't need permission to grow. You don't need a bigger audience. You don't need anyone to remind you what you already know. What you need is a commitment to yourself, a decision that from this moment forward, you stop treating yourself like an afterthought, that you stop laughing off what matters, that you stop putting off what you know you should be doing. This is your moment, and the world is watching how seriously you treat it. Because here's the truth. Once you take yourself seriously, everything else starts to shift. Your actions get sharper, your habits get cleaner, your vision gets clearer, and people around you begin to respond differently, not because they changed, but because you did. You taught them how to see you by showing them how you see yourself. Take yourself seriously, or nobody else ever will. That's not pressure, that's freedom. The freedom to take control of your life, your standards, your future, starting right now. Number 10, handle your problems before they handle your future. That's not just a suggestion, it's a reality check. Because problems don't go away on their own. They grow, they spread, they get heavier the longer you avoid them. And if you're not dealing with them now, they're quietly shaping the path ahead of you. One delay becomes two. One ignored issue turns into a habit. One excuse becomes a lifestyle. You don't get to skip over the hard things and still expect your future to work out. You either take control of the mess in front of you, or it takes control of what's coming next. Most people aren't overwhelmed because life is unfair. They're overwhelmed because they've been avoiding things for too long. They've stacked up unresolved problems, unanswered responsibilities, and unspoken truths. It doesn't happen overnight. It's slow. It's quiet. It feels like I'll get to that later. Then one day it hits all at once. Suddenly, you're not just dealing with a small issue. You're cleaning up months or years of delay. And now you're not making progress. You're surviving. If something keeps showing up in your life, it means you haven't fully handled it. Whether it's a habit, a person, a financial decision, or a mindset. If it keeps dragging you down, you've left something unfinished. The truth is, your problems are signals. They're not just setbacks. They're signs. They're trying to tell you what needs your attention, what needs to change, what you've been avoiding. But most people don't want to listen. They cover them up with distractions. They bury them under busyness. But silence doesn't solve problems. It just gives them time to get worse. You might think you're keeping it together, but if you're ignoring something important, it's affecting you. Maybe it's stealing your focus. Maybe it's draining your energy. Maybe it's killing your momentum. Either way, it's slowing you down. It's getting in the way of your goal. And it's doing damage you can't fully measure yet. But eventually the damage becomes clear. You look up and realize how much time you've lost, how much peace you've given away, how many opportunities passed you by, because you were too distracted cleaning up what should have been handled long ago. The hard truth is this: nobody's coming to solve it for you. Nobody's going to sit you down and make you deal with it. Life doesn't send reminders, it just gives consequences. And the longer you wait, the higher the cost. That's why now is the time. Not next month, not after the holidays. Now, because if you don't take action, the problem doesn't stay still. It grows legs. It starts moving into other areas of your life. It affects your decisions. It warps your judgment. It messes with your confidence. You start second-guessing yourself. Not because you lack ability, but because you've been living with unfinished business. There's no peace when you're always looking over your shoulder. There's no freedom when you're walking through life trying to avoid the truth. Maybe it's that conversation you haven't had. Maybe it's that debt you haven't faced. Maybe it's the habits you promised to change, but never did. Whatever it is, stop pretending it's not serious. Because it is. Not just because it's bothering you now, but because it will shape your future if you don't take it seriously. You've got to stop pushing problems to later. Later becomes years. Later becomes missed chances. Later becomes a version of you that's overwhelmed, stuck, and filled with regret. That's not a life you want. That's not a story you want to live. You want a life where you face things early, where you solve things while they're small, where you stop things before they get out of control. That kind of life requires responsibility. It requires honesty. It requires you to stop blaming your past and start protecting your future. It starts with one choice, one moment of clarity. Sit down with yourself and ask the hard questions. What have you been avoiding? What's bothering you but you keep pushing away? What needs to be fixed, cleaned up, or ended? Don't wait for a crisis to do what you already know is right. Prevention is always better than repair, but you have to act while you still have a choice before the consequences decide for you. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about stepping up. It's about understanding that the problems you face today are shaping your mindset. They're shaping your habits. They're influencing the way you show up in the world. And if you don't deal with them, they'll show up when you least expect it. In your relationships, in your confidence. And at that point, you're not building. You're surviving. You're not growing. You're repairing. Handling your problems is not about solving everything perfectly. It's about taking the first step, making the call, admitting the mistake, having the talk, opening the bill, facing the fear, being honest, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because the discomfort is short, but the regret of delay is long. And every time you avoid what needs to be done, you're silently agreeing to stay stuck. You want freedom, face the things you've been hiding from. You want clarity, start with honesty. You want momentum, handle the weight that's been slowing you down. Because that weight doesn't go away until you lift it. And every day you carry it, you're stealing energy from your own future. There is no easy way around this, but there is a simple truth. You're capable. You're stronger than your excuses. You're wiser than your distractions. You're more equipped than you give yourself credit for. But you've got to stop waiting. You've got to stop looking for the perfect time. You've got to stop hoping someone will rescue you from your own avoidance. It's on you, and that's not a burden. That's power. Because the moment you take responsibility, you take control. And when you're in control, you can change anything. So take a deep breath, get clear, and act. Clean it up. Fix what needs fixing. Decide what needs deciding. Finish what you've started. Don't drag the past into your future. Don't build your next chapter on unfinished pages. Start fresh by handling what's right in front of you. Not perfectly, but fully. Not all at once, but honestly. That's how you break the cycle. That's how you stop carrying yesterday into tomorrow. Handle your problems before they handle your future. Because if you don't, they will. Quietly, slowly, completely. And by the time you realize what's happened, it'll cost more than you ever planned to pay. Avoid that by choosing today, by choosing action, by choosing truth. Because your future deserves better than your delay. It deserves your full attention. It deserves your courage. And it starts with the decision to face what matters right now. If you want life to start working for you, start by doing the best you can. Every single day. Not when it's easy. Not when someone's watching. But when no one's clapping. When no one's checking. And when it feels like no one cares. That's where real change happens. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stop holding back. So here's your challenge. Before today ends, do one thing at your absolute best. Show up with full focus. Give full effort. Do it for yourself, not for attention. And tomorrow, do it again. If this message hit something deep in you, come back. Watch it again. Let it remind you of who you're becoming. And if you're serious about building a life that actually reflects your potential, this is just the beginning. Subscribe. Stay close, and keep showing up, because when you do the best you can, life starts to open doors you didn't even see before.